we've taken over almost 1,000 animals from one individual.
From one individual?
Yeah. We had a house that had 455 pigeons inside the house.
Hey everybody, it's Dan Rakowicz.
They're like sugar cookies, right? Shortbread cookies.
Fun fact about the number 13, this is going to be a fun interview.
We talk about getting involved in the community and how you can make a difference. It's all coming up right now on the Helping Hands podcast. Hey everybody, it's Dan Rakowicz, and this is episode 19 of the Helping Hands podcast. This is the place where we spotlight the good that's happening in our community. And on the show today, we've got the Nassau County SPCA here. Detective Mike Geller and Beverly Michael are here from the Nassau County SPCA. I want to dive right into some of the things that you do for the community. One of the things is you have a plan for natural disasters for our furry little friends. So if something happens like a Superstorm Sandy or something like that, what is the plan for when that happens?
Well, our main mission of the Pet Safe program, the Pet Safe Disaster Response Program, is to encourage people to have a plan for their own families, their own pets. Nobody wants to live in a shelter, even for a temporary time. So we encourage people to make a plan, to know where they're going if they have to be evacuated from their home in an emergency. That means talking to relatives, friends, people that they know in other parts, other neighborhoods on Long Island. That also means having a go kit ready for each pet in the family, just as you need to have a go kit for every member of the family. So the making sure that you are your pet's first responder, so to speak, that's the primary mission, to tell people that that's what they need to do. But when it is important for them to have a backup place to go if they're not able to work their own plan, when the county executive says to us, hey, can you help us out? We need to have a temporary shelter for the pets of people that have to be evacuated. Then we would set up a temporary shelter for those animals, just as we did during Hurricane Sandy, where we had more than 500 animals of people in Nassau County that had to be evacuated from their homes. That temporary shelter was lasted 4.5 months, actually. All volunteers working that shelter. Hopefully that we wouldn't have to have such a long time at it in the future, but whether it's a hurricane or any other kind of emergency, if the county executive tells us that we need to set up a shelter, we're there. We don't self-deploy, but we are an important resource for the people of Nassau County.
So I want to hit two things on here. One, now is the time that everybody should be planning for that disaster, not when we hear on the news that this hurricane is coming. We need to, right now when things are relatively calm, to pack that go bag, put that go bag together for the pet, for your pets, and also create that plan. Because I know one of the things that we experienced during Sandy was that at some point people didn't have a place to bring their pets.
That's right.
There were, they were displaced. They couldn't stay in their homes. They had to stay in hotels. Hotel policy a lot of times is you can't have an animal there. So Beverly, you're saying right now, check with those neighbors, check with those loved ones, see, if something happens down the road, will I be able to bring Max down to, your house or your place for the time?
Exactly. When we do our public outreach, trying to convey this message, we often hear from people that we talk to, I wouldn't leave my animals behind, they're going with me. So our next question to them is, but do you know where you're going precisely? The more detailed you can be, the better it is for you. And then, of course, we urge people to practice that plan, to go over it and over it so that it becomes second nature. And then when there is an emergency, you can jump right to it and you don't have to worry. But pre-planning is absolutely critical. You're right.
So how many pets did you say that you had during Superstorm Sandy?
During Superstorm Sandy, we had a total of 500 that went through that shelter.
Okay.
And most of them were returned to their homes.
You said most. Were there some?
Well,
because I had spoken to some people at the North Shore Animal League, and then they also had some pets that people had dropped off, and they were really surprised at how many people didn't pick up their pets that just that were left there, and that was heartbreaking.
No, most of them actually did go home.
Okay.
Yeah, there were some that, for example, I adopted a dog from a family that relinquished their pets because by the time we had to surrender the building, it was a county building. These folks were not back in their house yet. So there were a few of those. But in addition, we, by agreement with the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter, took in about 35 dogs that were living at the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter because the town animal control people, it was their responsibility to go pick up loose dogs that had been turned loose as the storm came in.
Right.
So we were asked to take those animals in so that the shelter would have room for the animal control officers to bring in those animals. But we did find rescues. We did adopt out some of those animals as well. That wasn't necessarily part of our original mission, but we found a way to do it. There were absolutely no animals that were put down as a result.
That's awesome. That's outstanding. That's great. And you had mentioned that you open these shelters when the county executive calls for help with that. But something that I just discovered recently from talking to you was that this is a separate program from Nassau County. This is not the government. This is a volunteer program separate from that. And separate from the ASPCA, which we see a lot of commercials on TV asking for donations, and automatically, in my mind, I think that it's the same thing and I'm donating to the same thing. Detective, can you talk a little bit about what the differences are between, the Nassau County SPCA and...
Absolutely, yeah. The Nassau County SPCA is the only SPCA operating in Nassau County. The ASPCA is the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. They handle more federal, larger nationwide programs, but they're located in New York City, and their immediate grasp is just in New York City. They're not coming into Nassau County to help us with our animals. It's left to us. We're a totally separate agency. We operate independently, and we go out there and do what we can to help the animals.
Right, and that's a big point because especially our podcast and our audience who we're talking to and our followers and supporters are all based mainly here in Nassau County, and that's our focus, and we want to spotlight our local community, all the great things that are happening. And I wasn't even aware that was on top of it. I mean, I wanted to invite you guys here to talk about the program even before that. But
we greatly appreciate it. Yeah, we're all privately funded. We don't get any money from the ASPCA. We don't get any money from the government. It's all private donations, and all our workforce are volunteer. And we give up our time just to help those that can't help themselves, as they say. Be the voice for the animals that don't have a voice.
Right. So what are some of the things that you do on a daily basis as a detective with that, and talk about the partnership with Nassau County also, how it is connected somehow.
Yeah. So the Nassau County SPCA, I'm on the law enforcement side. We investigate animal cruelty, and on a day-to-day basis, we operate with Nassau County. We operate with the Nassau County Police Department, the District Attorney's Office. We all work together to come to our common goal of help fight animal cruelty and prosecute our animal cruelty cases. So day-to-day, we'll get a call either through our hotline or through email about animal cruelty. We'll dispatch a detective who investigates the matter. Most of the time it's education, but there are times where it rises to the criminal level, and that's where our partnerships with the district attorney comes in and the police department, and we will use those resources to evaluate the situation, and if it rises to the level of an arrest, we'll seize the animal and get it help, and then we'll arrest the individual or individuals involved and bring them to justice.
You said the majority of the time it's like an educational thing. It's like people that just don't know how to take care of their pet, or
yes. Yeah, the most of our calls are like canine no shelter. They don't realize there's shelter laws in the county and the state that require you to have some sort of protection for the animal when it's left outside. Some towns in the county are stricter than others. Some have time limits. Some have actual requirements that you bring the dog in when it's been outside for more than 2 hours, or in inclement weather if it's been more than 30 minutes. State law requires that you always have access to adequate shelter, which is breed-appropriate shelter, something that's waterproof and insulated. It doesn't allow water to pool on the bottom or snow to get in during high wind and rain and snow, and it's something to keep the animals safe. So most of the time we get out there, there's no actual injury to the animal, but we'll educate the people as to how to properly care for them.
Okay. And I'm sure in your line of work, what you're doing and what you see, you've got to, and we try and keep things as positive as possible on this podcast, but I'm sure that there's some situations that you've seen.
We've had some very interesting cases in the last couple of years, and I worked in New York City before working in the county, and we've taken over almost 1,000 animals from one individual.
From one individual?
Yeah, from one individual. We had a house that had 455 pigeons inside the house. The guy was literally trapped in there with the birds. The guy was a complete gentleman, but he loved his birds so much, it literally took over his whole life. And we've seen some unfortunate circumstances where you've had spouses injure or kill an animal that belongs to their significant other as a way of getting back at them. There's some pretty horrible things that people do to animals. They say most violent offenders start or have animal cruelty somewhere in the background. And if, we want to help all the animals out there, and if we can stop somebody before they escalate to people, we absolutely want to do that. It's the correlation between animal cruelty and violence, and there's a link to domestic violence, and there's a link to even serial killers. Most of them have some sort of animal cruelty in their background. So we do our best to catch them early, as we say. And there's no reason to abuse an animal. Your victims are always innocent. Your perpetrators are always guilty. That's one of the great things about this is, there is no gray area.
Right.
There's no reason to abuse an animal.
And we work with the Safe Center too.
Yes.
For people who have pets who have been are the subject of domestic abuse.
The Safe Center. Yeah, they work with the domestic violence, and so they have a place also for pets in that?
Yeah, so we work with them, and we'll house their pets while they're seeking help and are displaced because of a domestic violence incident. So
if somebody suspects that there's animal cruelty going on, either at a neighbor or something like that, what can somebody do to?
If it's urgent and you feel like the animal's going to immediately suffer, call 911 and have the police respond. The police have a way of getting in touch with us as well. You can call our hotline, which is 516-the-SPCA or 516-843-7722. And you can find us online at the Nassau County SPCA.org. There's a link to make a complaint there. But call us, call 911. Get somebody there as soon as you can. If it's something that's completely urgent, call 911. If you have a question, you're not sure whether or not to call us. We'll tell you if it's criminal or not, and we'll send somebody out to take a look. But you're never wrong calling.
And the calls are confidential.
Yes, we don't give out complaining information.
Now knowing that you're a separate entity from the government of Nassau County and your own entity, and it's all volunteer, where do you get your funding from? How do you support what you're doing and all you're doing, and you're here and
our own pockets? we pay for a lot of it out of our own pockets. We also, of course, are asked for the help of the public. Because we are protecting the animals in the county.
Yeah, we survive on donations, basically. We're lucky that our workforce volunteers their time, so that's a great expense we don't have. But all the money we get goes towards the animals, and at the very minimum, you bring in one animal to the vet, even just for a wellness check, you're close to $1,000 in just one vet bill. And we've had cases where we seized 27 cats from one house, and we're talking over almost $30,000 in vet bills for that one incident. which can make or break the agency. We don't have millions of dollars. We'd like to, and if anybody would like to donate, we'd gladly accept it. But it's it's a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, and we have a lot of great people that, like Beverly and the detectives that we have, and the pet safe people that really are committed to helping the animals and going above and beyond. And we're very lucky to have all the people that we do.
Yeah, we are very lucky for all the volunteers that are doing it, and thank you for doing that.
I just wanted to say, too, that we're fortunate in having people that have a wide range of skills from their day jobs. Not all of the folks are retired, but some are. But we have a lot of people from the medical and dental professions. We have a physical therapist. We have Liz Fox, who is the director right now of the Pet Safe program, is an electrician. So we have a wide range of skills, and that helps us to get done what we need to get done. But we're always looking for people who are interested in volunteering. And there are lots of things that can be done, from the public outreach, the handing out literature, working the telephones, trying to bring in money for these projects and programs that we're working.
And where are you located when you're doing that?
Well, our headquarters is in Bethpage. You can find it on the website. It's at our Grumman Studios. Okay. We have an office at the OEM building. But most of our work is done out of our own homes and our own cars.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Pet Safe program also has an office and storage space at Bidawee in Wantagh. Okay. Bidawee has worked with us over the years. Has been extremely helpful in providing us a place to do our trainings, because we do train our volunteers. We have classes ongoing. We've got pet first aid classes. We have shelter, mock shelter setup training classes. We've got classes on how to handle the animals that we might be having to deal with in a shelter, an emergency shelter. So there are other organizations that have been very helpful to us in providing the resources that our volunteers need.
All right. Well, I appreciate everything that you're doing on a volunteer basis and taking your time to do these and help these animals and help the community. Is there anything that we missed that you want to make sure that we mention on here before we wrap everything up?
The most important thing I think that we in the Pet Safe program would like to convey, and that is for everybody just to make that plan, think about what the needs are of each member of your family, and that includes the animals, so that you don't become dependent on other people. Make sure that you can take care of your own family. And we're there to help out if that plan falls through. But think about it now. And as you say, Dan, do it now. Don't wait.
All right.
And if you see something, if anything that you think may be animal cruelty, don't hesitate to call. We have 15 investigators that work around the clock, that are always available to help. If you have a question, call 911. They can get in touch with us as well. But you call the main number, 516 the SPCA, or 516-843-7722.
Okay, and we'll put all the links in the status and in the comments to donate, to look into volunteering, to help out. There's a lot of help that the Nassau County SPCA can use. And when you do donate, be aware of where that's actually going to and the difference between the ASPCA and the SPCA. This is Nassau County. This is where we live, and these are the people that are going to be taking care of our pets if something like that happens. So it's a big difference, and we want to make sure.
I did forget to mention. I'm sorry. We take in about 1,000 calls a year, 500 of which become cruelty investigations, and then we do. Last year and a half, we've had about 30 arrests, and we've gone up. My statistics are about a month old, but I think we've been 30 for 30 with convictions on our cruelty arrests. And that's because of our partnership with the DA's office. And we don't make an arrest unless we know we've got a solid case. And we make sure we have some incredible investigators that done some incredible work putting cases together. And
so many things that, and initially when I set this up with you guys, it was to talk about emergency planning for a shelter. But now, as we talked more and finding out one, it's all volunteers. You're not getting money from, it's not a government funded thing. You're all volunteers that you're doing this. Not only that, but you're not just sheltering the animals, but when you take them in, you're giving them, medical treatment. You're helping them out, medically. That costs a ton of money. The people power that it takes to volunteer and to do these things and the investigation. So it's a huge cause, and it's locally based. It's Nassau County. I appreciate everything that you're doing. Thank you so much, and keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you very much.